on one side and then 8 people on another side, and they would base them off based on their zodiac signs. So there'd be like Leo or Scorpio and like Aries and Libra. And I would always root for Aries because I mean I'm an Aries, so I was like, yeah. So I was like, oh my God, like they better like come together or whatever and all that. But I never really knew what it meant. And then I went online and I looked it up. And I searched up like just like typical like, oh, what are zodiac signs? I just knew that I was rooting for Aries. And then I looked up and then it was like Aries are like adventurous, they're like outspoken and loud. I'm like, that doesn't describe me at all. Like I started at the beginning I didn't really believe in astrology, but then I started reading my horoscope and I was like, oh, maybe there might be some truth to this, and maybe this might be true. Like whatever they're gonna say is gonna happen to me. Like I gotta think about it and it'll happen. And I did believe it, but I still to this day never. So that led me to have 2 different opinions. One was whether astrology is actually real science you can trust on, or whether it isn't. So how many of you guys believe in like astrology and like your horoscope signs are true? Really? Yeah? Okay. Because like you see on Facebook and online all the time that's like, oh, like Pisces gangs, Scorpio squad, and all that. So basically what astrology is astrology is a study of movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs in the natural world. So what that really means is that the universe and like celestial bodies and planets, things like that, have an effect on who you are and the person you become, and also affects like your day. And it separates you into like 12 different signs, all based, I think it's on a 30, based on like an 18-day period, or between 18 and 30, it really depends. Okay, so what is science? What I did is I started off broad, and I started off with the supernatural, and I asked a tarot card reader what she thought real science was. And when interviewing her, she said that her own definition is energy and vibrations. So I wondered, you can't really see energy or vibrations. People question that sometimes. And she said that when she gives a reading to somebody, she can sense, when she reads the cards, she can sense like who you are, and that becomes your own personal reading, which to me I was like, well, you can't see anything, you can't prove who this person is or what their life's going to become and who they really are. Like I remember one time I got a tarot card reading and they told me a very general statement. It was like, I asked them about my career and they were like, I should do something in the arts, but the arts is so broad. It's like engineering or painting or even math can be considered one of the arts. And I was like, I never knew if I really believed in like the supernatural and stuff, but I was still curious. I was like, I wanted to know whether astrology was real or whether it had any truth to it. So, oh yeah, and also astrology was originally created by the Babylonians. Well, they're credited for creating astrology about 2,000 years ago. So that's important. Yeah. Next slide. Oh, statistics. About 42% of people read their horoscope. Whether that's often, once in a while, or almost like never, but they still read it. They read their horoscope, but if astrology is usually considered as one of those things that is untrue, why would people read it? Why would people see any truth to it? Is there actual science to it? So, next slide. I looked up the is it actual science part. So what it says to prove that astrology is science is that astrology goes along with astronomy, which the science community considers real science. And although there's no physical evidence, you can't really prove, it does not mean it can't be proven. So you can't go into like the universe or things like that and see if it really does have an effect on you. It's like based back in the day, like people never thought that you could go on the moon, but you were able to go on the moon. So it's kind of like the same theory when it's regarded to as actual science, and it's still also with the astronomy part, astronomy is basically the branch of science that deals with the celestial objects, spaces, and the physical universe as a whole, which astronomy to a lot of people is considered actual science. So when people associate astrology and astronomy together, they think, oh, there possibly is actual science to this and it can be real. So although some people might not see it as real, who do see it as real science, say that, oh, it deals with astronomy, and although you can't really see it, it doesn't mean it can't be proven sometime in the future, or you don't have a strong belief that it's true. The fact that it isn't science. There is no actual physical evidence to test that astrology is a real thing and your zodiac sign describes who you are and who you become and what your day is going to be. There's no way to test it as true. You can't go up into Venus or Mars and see, oh, maybe this has an effect on the day they were born. You can't consider astrology real science without an agreement from the scientific community. When I was doing research on the UCLA website, they said that they had different categories where they're considering astrology as real science, and the majority of the scientific community doesn't consider astrology real science because there is no actual proof to prove that it is real and that you can see it and it does affect who you are. This is just the different signs, like what they're supposed to describe as. So like Aries are leaders, like Pisces are kind of like the quiet ones, and Leos are like the outgoing ones. Next slide.
That's it. That's it.
Well, I'll just. Is that? Oh, well, I had another slide at the bottom of my solution. I don't know what happened to it. But my solution was that whether you do believe that it's real or it's not, you should learn to respect people's opinions and possibly look into what, if you don't believe in it, look into what astrology is and kind of see people's opinions on the matter and see whether it could possibly have an influence on what you think. And if you don't believe astrology is true, and if you do believe that astrology is true, but you kind of have some ideas, speak to people about why you think it isn't true. There is like a huge reason, which is there's no physical evidence to prove it, but you can always still get different opinions on both sides of the matter. So, in the end, you can't say it's not true or it isn't true, although you can't say that it's not true or it isn't true, because everybody has their own opinions and their own different evidence and ideas to prove their own side.